Welcome to the Returning Raven, Clarity Points for Truth, where we look closer at the yoga you don't know, the one with hidden forms, worldview, sorcery, and philosophy that clouds and deceptively influences culture, church, family, and you. I'm Dr. Alana Arguello. It's time to leave the fog, get out of the gray, and into the light. Join me today at the Clarity Point. Welcome to the Returning Raven, Clarity Points for Truth. I'm your host, Dr. Alana Arguello. Today on this episode, Charlie Kirk, Transgender, and Yoga. Now, are you ready to listen? We are going to take a break from our regular episodes that take you through each chapter of my book, Unearthing Yoga's Ancient Roots, Exposing Sorcery and its Trans-Cultural Reach, because I think at this point it is important to look closer at a few things that surround the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Areas mentioned today are covered in the book and will be expounded on in future episodes. But in light of this recent horrible event, I think it is important to pull forward a few points. Christians, and even some non-Christians, are appalled not only at what happened to Charlie Kirk, but also the response by the left after it happened. Many justifying, excusing, celebrating, and affirming in disgusting accord that they too would have done the same thing to him, that he deserved it. The lawlessness in this country is now exposed even more, not only in the actions, but revealed what's growing and festering in the hearts of the left. A shocking rebellion and even inability to see right and wrong, an unfathomable level of desensitization to reality and the dignity of life, and erratic, psychotic behaviors and thought processes. The response from the left is confusing, as how could people care so little for life, be so confused, so detached from the realness of murder? What has happened to this country? There are a few causes, I believe, that warrant concern, causes that have been developed as a building a cult mentality in this nation, a brainwashing of individuals and communities, a dumbing and numbing down of society, but a major one has been ignored for too long. And that's yoga practices and yoga philosophy that have turned our society. I don't know about you, but I'm done. I've sat in libraries in my office with my head in research, trying to be careful about how to present this, but no more. I'm coming out to call a spade, to call truth, truth. It's time to wake up, church. It's time to stop ignoring what I believe there's enough evidence to prove that we've missed something. You are wondering about the turned upside down thinking of the left, about the power behind the transgender movement, transgender in general, about cancel culture, and how in the world the left can claim science while ignoring scientific facts. How in the world the left can not only close their eyes to hate and violence, but celebrate it. To say nothing of the increase in depression and anxiety in our culture. Charlie Kirk was murdered. In our society right now, the reasons behind the insane behavior is the sniper in the grass, the one among us that we have allowed in and ignored. 7 days after Charlie Kirk was murdered and assassinated, an article was published by Science Alert written by scholar psychologist Dr. Miguel Farias. Farias had previously written a book with another author, Wikholm, a book titled The Buddha Pill, which I cited some of their valuable research in my book. Let me give a few highlights from the science article. Its link will be in the description. Ancient texts on yoga meditation report symptoms of depression and anxiety that can occur after meditation. Meditation is yoga, by the way. It's an Eastern form. It's a yoga practice. Just to quote the book for a second, it also details cognitive, these are the ancient texts, also detail cognitive and now anomalies associated with episodes of psychosis, dissociation, and depersonalization. This is when people feel the world is unreal. In the past 8 years, there has been a surge of scientific research in this area. These studies show that adverse effects are not rare. Another quote here, According to a review of over 40 years of research that was published in 2020, the most common adverse effects are anxiety and depression. These are followed by psychotic or delusional symptoms, dissociation or depersonalization, and fear or terror. Research also found that adverse effects can happen to people without previous mental health problems, to those who have only had a moderate exposure to meditation, and they can lead to long-lasting symptoms, end quote. Another quote from the article, in 1976, Arnold Lazarus, a key figure in the cognitive behavioral science movement, said that meditation, when used indiscriminately, could induce, quoting him, serious psychiatric problems such as depression, agitation, and even schizophrenic decompensation. Another quote here, 90% of the research into the positive impacts. So when people are saying that yoga is good for you, 90% is subpar. Meditation is being sold as the thing to bring global unity and peace to the world, to change individuals and society. Again here, the largest study so far was completed in 2022. This is a multi-billion-dollar respected study, revealed that children, when they're meditating in schools, meditation in the schools, the children are not helped. There are not positive outcomes, but in fact, they have detrimental effects. I'll say that again, detrimental effects on children. Here's another quote. Meditation deals with unusual states of consciousness, and we don't have the psychological theories of mind to help us understand these states. Here again, we're still in this article with Dr. Miguel Farias. This is the newest data. You understand? This article that I've just given you some information from, this is the newest data, but as touched on in the article and several chapters of my book, there's more proof. There has been mounds of evidence that yoga, physical and meditation practices cause harm, cause anxiety, depression, psychosis, even, and get this, dissociation. Dissociation can be derealization, not thinking the world is real, and depersonalization, losing sense of self and identity. Thinking self as outside of self, not thinking you're even real. In other words, people become dissociated from reality, desensitized and numb to the world. Wake up, church. Some in the church are aware that there are some wacky ideas coming into the church, unorthodox, crazy behaviors, liberal concepts, immorality, false views of God, etc. But we ignore that we've let in yoga in several forms. The church is shocked at the immorality of America and the desensitization and far from reality thinking and behaviors of the left. But we ignore that not only does yoga cause this, but the common denominator, what they'd say is their religion or spirituality even, is yoga. What do you think most, if not all, those on the left justifying and celebrating the horrible death of Charlie Kirk have in common? They practice or support yoga and its doctrines and philosophy. One of the goals of yoga is to make you transgender. One of the goals of yoga is to reject traditions of morality and flip everything on its head. And not only do gurus warn about the reality of yoga, their texts say the same. And science says that it is possible for all of this to occur, since the data says that yoga changes your view and understanding of God to an Eastern view, makes you liberal, makes you self-focused over marriage or family, causes you to check out from reality of self and others, as well as increases anxiety, depression, and even causes psychosis. The early church warned about yoga and its Eastern pagan philosophies. So did some reformers. So did some Christian right political reps in the 20th century, that it was anti-Christian and immoral and would corrupt women. But we didn't listen. For decades, more Christians have tried to speak out against it, and I've tried to reach people about how its philosophies are influencing culture, but still, no one wants to listen. Satan offers random distractions. Oh, look over here at this cause of the issues to distract, razzle-dazzle you away from a real cause. And although there are a few distinct but connected causes of the increase in lawlessness and desensitization away from right and wrong in our culture, there is one that is consistently overlooked, and that's yoga practices and yoga philosophy. Christians don't want to believe that it could change the brain or culture, though history says otherwise. We blame the postmodern world, the deconstructed world, that they err when they try to revise or rewrite history. But we are also ignoring history, namely ignoring yoga's history, which includes extreme lawlessness, multi-millions of murders, belief in subhumans versus elite humans, and evidence that, as the texts say, it achieves the goal to make you transgender. And we ignore how those in yoga practices, especially specific types of Raja Yoga, tend to rewrite and revise their own personal histories. 2, we ignore that the Bible says otherwise, from how pagan worship will ensnare you, trick you, deceive you, conform you to the world. Even God warns that we are not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual powers of darkness, and those perhaps crafted and designed the pagan worship of yoga. 3, science today says otherwise, that yoga can change you, causes derealization, depersonalization, anxiety, depression, and psychosis. 4, it's been documented by Luciferians. I'm not talking about kids in a basement playing some game. I'm talking about socialites, elites, educated, politically associated people, documented that not only did yoga provide them with the method and way for Lucifer to communicate with them, but that a specific type of yoga would be what divides the church. And it was not the gym kind of yoga, by the way, which they used that to conjure demons, and those had their own consequences. But specifically, it was the contemplative Eastern meditation kind, along with added features of the mantra, repeated phrases, several times in a song. 5, we ignore that yoga directly, what it had to do with the culture of Nazi Germany, which had a rise in transgender, by the way, and we ignore what yoga had to do with Hitler himself and his officers, his agents of Satan. And lastly, 6, we ignore the truth about yoga, although its text and modern gurus tell us exactly what it is, what it does, where it's going, why and how it affects your beliefs about God, society, morality, yourself, and in fact, how it changes you. So why do we keep pushing it aside when history, science, and philosophy experts, clinical psychologists over decades provide us with uncorrupted, unbiased data, neuroscientists even, and the Bible, biblically sound doctrine, proven and read plainly in the written word, along with historical facts of contenders for the gospel, once and for all delivered to the saints, tell us to quit yoga? Why do we ignore when the data shows, again, see even the most recent article, the one in the description, that over 90% of what you read online or in research about yoga is subpar and has been corrupted and skewed to sell you yoga? Why? Both the practices and definitely ignoring the reality of its doctrines and its philosophies. And as we move forward, to become transgender is a goal of yoga. Not only will I show you this in this series, but just look around. Look at their trans-neutral gods. Look at the countries that the main religion is a yoga-based faith. Trans prostitutes abound. And as I cite in the book, one country funds. Look at the left. Look at how all the disgusting comments coming from the left, either directly supporting the shooter, claiming they would have done the same, or sugarcoating and moving around words expressed in sympathetic tones while still sliding in some justification for the killer's actions, which is also propaganda and false. Like, well, Charlie Kirk was against certain people. Well, he was for guns. That last one is the most absurd thing I've heard in a while. Martial arts have been used for survival and defense for centuries, and people can make the bodies lethal. So would we say that a Buddhist monk today that gets murdered by someone through the use of martial arts in hand-to-hand combat deserved it? Oh, well, he supported the idea of martial arts, so of course he died by it. That's ridiculous, disgusting, and absurd. America has changed. The culture is desensitized, brainwashed, and violent. Take a look closer. All these people justifying and celebrating the death of a person. To say nothing of the fact that they also were and are killing free speech and civil discourse, which was what Charlie Kirk was respectfully and rightfully doing when he was murdered. All of them derealized, desensitized, brainwashed, violent, disconnected from reality, liberal, self-focused people. It surprises me not that all or most of them practice yoga. In fact, it's probably the closest thing they claim to religion. And it doesn't surprise me their warped thinking and behaviors because we know this historically of yogis and yoginis. Yoginis are female yogis. The history of yogis and yoginis is not peace, like you've been sold. Warning, this is a national tragedy. Charlie Kirk's lovely family lost him, and the nation too lost him and lost much more. As mentioned in previous episodes, cultural historical patterns of pagan worship show that Satan will come in hard and fast to double down in offering yoga to the church in all forms, including Eastern meditation, when tragedy hits. So now watch out. Look for it. In mourning, yoga or meditation will be offered to the church for coming together in peace. We must come together and pray, yes, but we must pray the way God tells us to, not in the Eastern pagan way. And I pray Charlie Kirk's family does not take the bait. Pray for them, because yoga in some form, I guarantee you, will be offered to them now while they are hurting and grieving and mourning. And I pray the Christian church, the true Christian church, does not allow it anymore, but rather it's time. Will we keep not listening? So surprised by the hate, by the behaviors of the left, while we sit by and still keep pagan worship among us, acting like it can be with us and not change us. Church, wake up. Be Joshua. Get the pagan worship out of the church. If yoga, including Eastern meditation, continues, if we are not pure and true in our worship, we will continue to be ensnared, and the American yoga culture will continue to grow into more and more lawlessness. Charlie Kirk fought for the truth. He fought that America stand on logic, respectful discourse, and preservation of our Constitution. The reason so many don't, won't, and can't see that truth is because America is under the spell of yoga practices and yoga philosophy. Wake up, church. Stand up, church. Choose this day whom you will serve and worship in truth. If you want to know why and how we've come to this, please get a copy of my book, Unearthing Yoga's Ancient Roots, Exposing Sorcery and Its Transcultural Reach. Share this video, subscribe to my channel, and join me here on The Returning Raven as we look closer at the sniper in the grass, at the reality of yoga. I'm Dr. Elena Arguello. See you at the next Clarity Point. Thank you for joining me today on The Returning Raven. I'm Dr. Elena Arguello. For a closer look again at truth, I'll see you at the next Clarity Point.